Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, still here. Channel's still here. Haven't been hauled off to some camp or anything. And the world hasn't quite ended yet. But we may be closer today than we've ever been. At least the last 24 hours, it does seem to be that a lot of things have changed. I've been contacted by several people, personal friends, people that are, here on the channel that know how to get a hold of me personally. And then I've just talked to just random strangers, all in the last 24 hours. And everyone seems to have the same thing on their mind, that what in the world is happening? Like, is it really happening? Or is things really going down this road right now, this fast, this way? And the only answer that I have is, yeah, I think so. I think it is happening. Before I get started on this, I don't post show memes and stuff on here, but I'm going to make an exception for this one. It's going to be right here. A lot of truth to it. 230 some years ago, men and women bled, froze to death, starved to death, died, just lived in absolute misery to fight for freedom. And today, we're all giving it up because we're scared we might get a cold and we might get really sick from that cold. Only a small percentage, very tiny amount, but nonetheless, we're going to give it all up because we're terrified. This is the state of the nation, and it's very sad. Since the all-knowing and all-powerful speech from yesterday, where, basically balkanization has now hit American soil. Not that it hasn't already, but at least it was, the idea and the concept of it was made known by the president himself. That those of you that did not get this, and those of us that refuse to get this, we're now the enemy. We're now the cause of all this hardship. We're now causing all these other people, these businesses, to potentially lose money. All of this, it's all our fault. Folks, in planning for this video of what to say, I'll admit, sometimes what I need to say just kind of flows. Other times I struggle with it. This time I'm struggling with it because there's so much. There's so much, and it's deeply disturbing. It's a little heartbreaking. I grew up a very patriotic person in a very patriotic family. I was taught true patriotism from birth, really. My grandfathers, father, uncles, everyone have served in some way or another. And loving the nation that I was born in, loving this country, has just been kind of bred into me. And here we are watching the fall of a great nation. And it's very disturbing. So I'll admit, I'm struggling with what exactly I need to say. What I am going to say is point out a lot of the things that's happened since the big speech yesterday. Again, a lot of these things that I'm pointing out, I'm not saying that there's definitely something going on, but I'm just going to let you connect the dots on your own. Before I get started with that, as times continue to worsen, as things get worse, as prices go up, food prices are constantly on the rise. You all know that. Things are getting hard to come by. As you're prepping for your foods, you might want to go to preparedwithtravis.com. It's where I work with my Patriot Supply, which is one of the nation's best and best quality emergency freeze-dried food. You can buy it in number 10 cans. You can buy it in buckets, Mylar sealed bags, whatever you want. Preparedwithtravis.com. If you're in the market for it, I believe it's one of the best quality and best value, per calorie price, foods out there that you can stock up. And this stuff's good for like 30 years. You stick it away and you can forget about it as long as you store it in a decent place. You don't want to store it out in the hot sun or something like that. All right. So a few things kind of hit just right after the speech, and it was about the speech. There was some information kind of coming out from inside the White House. One of those, and you probably all know who Jack Posobiec is. If you don't, He is certainly a conservative, and because of that, I think the mainstream media and the internet, you know, tech giants, they hate him, and so they trash him. The guy is a reporter, and he definitely has some of the best inside sources out there. Pretty much, you know, when he says that his source says this, it's pretty guaranteed it's going to happen. He's got good sources. His inside the White House source tells him, and he tweeted this after the speech, that you can read the tweet for yourself, that basically the president's wife was wanting him to be much more stern in the speech. She was wanting the speech to go all out Australia. And what this is telling us, I believe, is that this concept that maybe some moderate people have, that, well, I don't think the president and the White House is really wanting to, like, take all our rights. They just have the best interest of the people in heart, you know, of taking care of our well-being against this horribly dangerous disease out there. They don't really want to, like, destroy the nation and take our rights away. They just have the best interest, you know, our best interest at heart. And that's what they're doing this for. No, they don't. They want to see America go down the same path as Australia has been. I've said that before. I said that just in the last few days, and right here, I believe, is proof of that. Along with this, just before, or hours or whatever before the speech happened, the big alphabet soup group, the FBI, the DHS, and the Secret Service all formed a special little task force just so that they could be monitoring the internet and social media during and after this speech last night. So the ones that many of you watched, whether you watched it live or later, you were being monitored by the alphabet soup. They're probably watching this video right now. I'm sure they watched the one that I released yesterday and a bunch of other people's videos talking about the same thing. They formed a special task force because, again, we're the enemy. The president said so himself. Not specifically related to this, but it is, I think, in a roundabout way. Did you know that the big fence up at the Capitol Hill, remember the one that was there for 6 months and all the, you know, National Guard troops were sitting on their thumbs because, you know, they were afraid that there was going to be something happen? Well, the fence is going back up. That's right. Reuters is reporting on that they have decided to put the fence back up. They're saying that it's because there is a planned protest, I believe next week or the week after, in regards to the January 6th thing. I'm sure that there's probably other reasons also, but they're putting the fence back up. There's no word yet on if National Guard troops will be called in, but they're certainly beefing up security. Now, so that stuff happened there. This came across the news yesterday afternoon after the speech, and this one kind of sparked my interest. Did you know that, don't know exactly when, but shortly after the speech was given, the old President Biden called up Xi Jinping of China. That's right, the president of China. He initiated, our president of the United States initiated the phone call. Now, officially, they talked about all this other stuff. I find it really strange, though, and I may be reaching on this. So I'm not making any claims. This is just my own suppositions and in my mind working, and it does work strangely sometimes. That a president of the United States has given the most anti-freedom speech ever, has laid down the most anti-freedom laws ever, has said things that many Americans are saying, man, this sounds like we're going down like communist, you know, so-and-so. And then shortly after, the person that he decides to call is the head of the most prominent communist regime on the planet, kind of like the unofficial leader of communism on the planet. I find that a little strange. Also, it was announced today that we're sending a bunch of ships and warplanes over in the South China Sea, and they're going to be doing some training, blah, blah, blah stuff. Probably going to, who knows, you know, seeing some type of false flag thing happen. I don't know. Just thought that was a little strange. There's other things. Oh, did you know that the new mandates that the president issued last night, well, they don't actually apply to everyone in the workforce. They don't apply to all federal employees. Guess who they don't apply to? They don't apply to Congress members and their staff. That's right. All other federal employees, they do apply, except Congress members and their staff. Interesting, right? There's a lot of backlash already happening. And I know that I don't know how to say this. I don't want to be the wet blanket here. There are 20, 21, 22 states that have already made some statement of opposition to what Biden said. There's a little article on the map. I think it's kind of changing all the time. Most of what has been said so far that I have seen, I may not have read what every state has said, but most of them have said, we don't agree with this. This kind of stuff's not coming here, but we think it's wrong. We disagree with it. And I think a lot of people online are saying, this is like, secession, civil war, all this kind of stuff. I don't think it's quite there yet. It's very easy for a politician to act like a politician and speak out against an opposing party. It's very different for those politicians to take a stand to the point that they know will definitely and most likely lead to a physically violent conflict. I'm not a Debbie Downer, folks, but I don't know that any governor in any state, and I know that many of you are going to point out like Texas and Florida and stuff, I'm not sure that any governor of any state is quite willing to hold the ground to that extent. All this that's happened in the last 24 hours is all hinging on the fact of whether or not the president and his team and the White House and the federal government, how much intentions that they have of seeing this through. How much are they willing to push this? If there's backlash, are they going to back down, or are they going to keep pushing regardless? For doesn't matter, come hail or high water, they are going to push this through. Or if there's a little bit of backlash, they don't have quite the spine and the stomach for it, and they kind of cave in. We don't know yet. It's just happened. My point is if they're hardcore on this and they are dead set on seeing it through, I'm not so sure I have a lot of faith in any governor of any state to stand through that, because federal government, like it or not, they have a lot of power and authority, a lot of ways that they can make a governor and the states alive pretty miserable if they stand against this. So I think a lot's going to happen, or could happen. Will everyone just back down? Is this just a bluff and another side's bluffing and they finally just agree to back down? And that's possible. I don't know that it's what's going to happen. So there's that. Also, something I just wanted to throw out here, the Pfizer and BioNTech, they are submitting the thing to be approved for 5-year-olds now and up. So if you have a child in public school, they will soon be requiring it, I would guess. Once the approval happens, they're probably going to require it in schools. Just throwing that out there. Also, along with what I was saying about the states, I forgot to mention, I have heard it from 3 sources now. I'm not going to name names, but I have heard it from 3 sources that I don't know, but here in Missouri, this only applies to Missouri, that there is talk and they are working on calling in a special legislative session. Sorry, let me spit that out. They're calling in a special session of the state legislature to form some kind of bill and pass it, to get it to the governor's desk soon, to stop this in Missouri. The 3 people I've spoke with, they have no clue what that's going to look like. They have no clue what's going on in any more detail than that. Nothing has been officially announced at least to my knowledge, as of the making of this video. But two of the three sources that I have spoken with are pretty solid sources. They wouldn't say something to me unless they knew it was pretty correct. So if you're a Missouri resident, that's what's happening in Missouri, potentially. All right. I know there's a lot of stuff. There's lots of stuff. Things are crazy. It's bad. What can I say? I think a lot of people are starting to wake up. This morning I had to make a run to the feed store and stopped at Walmart. And while I was at Walmart, as much as I despise going in that place, I was in Walmart and I'm trying to get out of there as fast as I can. So I'm running around grabbing things. And these are people I did not stop and speak with. I'm telling you stories that I heard as I'm passing by them. I'm hearing conversation as I'm passing by. And I passed by this husband and wife, I would assume, man and woman, that were talking about something. And what I overheard was he told her something to the effect of, well, honey, let's just go ahead and buy it now. We don't know how bad things are going to get. Things are getting bad. And we don't know if we're going to be able to get this later on. So let's just go ahead and get it now. That was one conversation overheard. The other conversation was between two men. And they were talking basically about how bad things are now in reference to the president's speech, everything that's going on. And they said, you know, I could hear them talking. Yeah, it's going to start going downhill fast. I've had a couple other people contact me. I think the mood for a lot of people is either shock, disbelief, or we better buckle up, folks, because you know, feces is going to start getting flung at us, basically, because it's going to hit the fan. In doing so, a conversation that my wife and I had today is how do people, what do we do with this? How do we stand up? What are we supposed to do? I don't have a lot of time left. I want to not take this video too long, but I just want to say this. Whatever you say online, whatever you do online is not safe. Not safe from government eyes. You can do a VPN. You can have all kinds of firewalls. You can even use the Tor network and all these browsers that are, you know, all that. That kind of stuff, that protects you from hackers that are trying to get your banking information or social security information, your ID, that kind of stuff. And it can work pretty effectively against that kind of stuff. If the government wants to spy on you or wants to hear and see what you're doing, there's nothing you can do to protect that. Nothing. You can't. I mean, you know, all these people, and my mind is blank now, that have been kind of in the news over the past few years, that have, you know, they've been arrested or they've fled, you know, government, U.S. jurisdiction and stuff because of internet activity, of exposing things online. Everyone's going to think of all of them. My mind is totally blank right now. Anyways, these guys were kind of professional computer people and they still got caught. Okay. You and I are not safe to speak of anything specific or anything like that online. So I'm telling you, if it gets to the point where we have to start really formulating a strategic plan, the internet is not going to be the place to do it. But I'm telling you this, you need to be making those connections now. You need to be making connections and building community and relationships now. Because if we ever get to that point to where we're having to take a stronger stance, defending ourselves, standing our ground, you need to have already kind of formed somewhat loosely a circle of people that you can depend on. Because the more that this technology exists and becomes more and more advanced, and I'm not talking about just here on the internet, I'm talking about in the real world with contact tracing, with how they're able to track phones, of where they're going, satellites, all this kind of stuff is advancing rapidly. This concept that we'll just go back to the old revolution days and all meet in Sam Adams' pub is not even going to be possible, because they're going to know everything we do, where we're at, what we're saying, and everything. This is another reason why You need to build connections now with people. Seek out the people that you can trust and somehow, some way, depend on them and create some level of community. It's very possible that this path that we're on could lead to that. And that is one other thing that we need to be preparing for. All right, folks. Thank you all for watching. Catch you in the next video.